computer, lights.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Pepper and I are having technical support day.
Well, technical support day, I ended up having to squash the OBS type deal. Only because it just is not working.
We should figure that out somewhere along the line, because if we had OBS, you could do the inset thing. If you were so
True. So I am coming. Do we have anyone else coming?
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe I will put this palette away because I'm not going to be using it.
I am going to move over to my table, but first I want to see if I can't print Miyazaki's palette first. So
Okay.
we're gonna try that mess. I have to find my mouse. It's like figure where I've hidden everything. I have everything docked to all these different windows. The problem I've got is here's a new cartridge of ink for my printer, but it's the wrong printer. And I bought it like 100 years ago. And now I'm like, well, that's great. I didn't even think to look to see whether this was the correct cartridge when I got it, because I got two of them at the same time. And one of them is correct, and the other one apparently is not. So now I'm going, well, I don't know if I have another magenta, and I'm out of magenta. So I'll just see. You are yellow, 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 yellow. Cyan, cyan. Black, black. Okay. So yeah, I don't have replacement magenta, which is aggravating, because I'm out of magenta on my printer. Oh, I know where that belongs. That belongs to my Canon. That makes sense. That's the one I take with me to conventions and print on when I'm at a convention. So it's not the wrong printer. Ink. It is the correct ink. It's just that it's an emergency ink for the wrong printer. So there we go. So, well, that's all right. I'm loath to do color matching. Well, we'll do our best. All right, we'll do what we can. Hey, somebody else might be joining us.
Nope.
You're joining us.
There we go. I muted that. All right. I'm also going to have to do something else real quick.
Is that you? What the heck is going on at the desk? That's not what's supposed to be at the desk. We are confused.
Can you talk?
You want to hear me?
Okay, no, I'm just trying to make sure that I can hear you. I'm trying to mute something so we don't have a feedback loop. Oh, and we have someone already. Cool. Hi. I don't think I've actually seen you before.
Nope.
So, all right.
Join us for painting. Or at least technical support, which is really what we're doing right now. But welcome to the show. And I'm Guy, and that's Pepper down there. And Pepper is going to work on making watercolor paints. I'm going to work on a mess.
I am actually going to be doing a pour box this week because my birthday was this past Sunday, and I got a collection of paints from Da Vinci Paints, which is an American paint company based in Southern California. And the palette is Denise's Earth-Friendly Da Vinci watercolor palette, which is a mouthful, but Denise is a YouTuber that does talks about animal conservation, and yeah, these are all colors that are based off of conservation and environmental friendly type impacts. So
always good.
Yeah. So I'm just don't mind me. I'm just opening everything, and people get to watch me pour paint, I guess.
Well, it's cool that you're joining us for just a little bit, and it's okay when you leave. We'll miss you, but you can come back at any time.
Yeah.
Yep. He's working on eco-friendly. I'm working on. I'm trying to build a palette equal to Miyazaki's color palette, which is Hayao Miyazaki is if you're, for those who are not familiar, is the head artist at Studio Ghibli in Japan, and did a number of movies such as Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind and Porco Rosso and Kiki's Delivery Service. And when you go to the Ghibli Museum, which is in Mitaka, that's a borough of Tokyo, so it's kind of like a suburb of. It's not a suburb of Tokyo; it's inside Tokyo. But when you go to Mitaka, they sell these paint kits which have these colors, these colors right here, and I love all of them, but he does all of his artwork, and all of the artists in the actual animation company there, they all do all like the pre-production drawings and things like that using this set palette. And so I'm going to try to match this palette over here with existing paints, just because I'm kind of new to watercolors and I just need a starting point, something where I have right now. My palette is extremely messed up. So the goal here is to just find colors that match this palette to give me a starting point. So that's what we are doing. Hey there, Brent. And Brent has joined us. So anyway.
Okay.
So that's our job for today. But like I said, I don't know what's going on with I don't know why my at the desk is not actually pulling in the camera from the desk. That's very strange. So I'll have to dink with that. So give me a second here, because I don't even know why this guy is here. This is the wrong camera. And the desk camera is like weirdly shrunk. I don't know what's going on.
It just basically is trying to rebel against you, Guy. That's all.
Right? I'm not sure what its deal is. I don't need the overlay anymore. Desk camera. Well, the desk camera could probably move over all the way.
So
I can make this bigger.
If you guys want to know what type of paint that I just poured, I did Irilid Yellow, Hansa Yellow Deep, and Da Vinci Red. And I'm moving on to the next box, which should be a Alizarin Crimson Quinn or quinacridone, perylene maroon, and red rose deep.
Yeah, Brent, it was probably George. Hey, you guys all missed it. Yesterday, George was the birthday boy. He turned 1 and spent
Yay.
most of the show right here or right there or under there or eating something. And he was going after my paintbrushes again. For you, Lilith, that's George is my cat, and he has joined the show now, sort of. And we got him as a kitten. We got him as a kitten in August, but he was born in the little shelter. He was born on May 4th. So, and by the way, to all of you out there, may the 4th be with you. Oh, I'm a good stormtrooper now, so apparently I've missed. It's a joke. Okay.
It's all right. It's all right. I think the best one yesterday that I saw was "May the LaForge be with you."
Yes, that one was good. Okay. Now to figure out what's going on here. Why is it so zoomed in? What's going on? The heck is happening? Like it's super zoomed in.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So-
You rescue one? You rescue one? Oh, I like Olaf as a name for a cat.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Okay. Activate.
So,
There it is.
I went ahead and if you guys can
Oh,
make
it's
this
great.
out, I know it's kind of small, but I have a color chart that was printed, but I'm going to be swatching these once I'm all done pouring. So, you'll be...
Jeez Louise, what
Oh,
happened?
cool.
Oh yeah. If George shows up, he's also a black short hair, DSH, and I love the those. He's got really coarse fur, and I find that fascinating. Like we have 2 cats, and what? Wow, this thing's like super large. What did I do to myself here? What was I doing? If you're wondering what I'm doing,
We
I'm
were talking about
shrinking.
George.
Yeah, but I'm still shrinking the camera image. I don't know what the heck's going on. So, you know what? I'm going to probably just delete it and bring it back in. Yeah, I'm going to delete it and bring it back in.
So far, I can say like the main reason why I like these is they're coming out of the tube very nicely, but also at the same time, they're not like popping out and making me feel like I have to run and get a paper towel because it's going to get everywhere. That's awesome. So,
There. That took way too much time to make that work. Oh, man. Sorry. I think I fixed my problem. Right?
Cool.
George really did prank me. George, you pesty cat.
So I've done Da Vinci Violet, Induthrone Blue, Ultramarine Blue for pours, and I'm getting to the final 3 of the top row, which should be Cerulean Blue Hue, which is not true cerulean, because true cerulean technically is not environmental friendly. So that's why it's a hue instead. Huh?
Is it a fake cerulean? Is that the deal?
Yeah, because true cerulean actually impacts the environment in a negative way. So when she was coming up with this palette working with Da Vinci, the paint company, she wanted eco-friendly colors and variations. So she did a cerulean blue hue, which is a PB15 with a PW6 combination. For those of you who don't know, that's a permanent blue 15, which is the pigment code, and a PW, which is a white pigment code number 6. And now I'm doing your favorite color right now, phthalo blue.
I love phthalo blue.
So she has she put on here Indanthrone blue and phthalo blue, which is actually a good thing for me because you can water them both down. But
Right.
blue is more of a cooler hue, and Indanthrone is more of a warmer blue. But now I have phthalo green as my final pour for the top row.
There's a phthalo green.
Yes, there's
I
a
suddenly
phthalo green.
have a desire for phthalo green.
Well, I mean, they do sell these individual paints on DaVinci.com. They are not. DaVinci Paints is not sponsoring this video. I'm letting people know this now. I did not buy. I did not. Was not sent this product. I had to buy this product. So, you know, this is one of those times. On Earth Day, they were running a sale where you got a artist apron and you got the paints for one price. So I went ahead and I got the artist apron and the paints. So starting out the second row, I'm doing raw umber, burnt umber, and violet iron oxide. So
I swear you said violent.
I did it originally. I was gonna say violent, but it's actually violet.
So it's like a very calm, not really that violent oxide.
Correct. Yeah, it would be like if your grandma got mad at you, but she was really cute when she does it.
But you knew that you weren't going to die because your grandma's not going to kill you that really. Yeah, I get it.
Oh no.
Your grandma would kill you, but I know because you got a southern grandma just like me.
Well, I have my northern grandmother is still alive. My grandmother on my mom's side, she is passed on already. So yeah, like she's the one that would probably kill me if I said something stupid.
Right.
But technically, she's a northerner.
Right.
She was born in Massachusetts, and my dad's mom is from Rhode Island. So there's that.
Fair. That's fair.
But
George knocked my brushes on the floor.
yeah, but my mom's mother had been in the South for quite some time, so yeah, she definitely picked up on some of the culture there.
Right.
Southern United States, folks. Southern United States.
Yeah. For those of you who are dialing in,
Let me clarify that.
other locations in the world.
Technically, I think my grandmother would is still considered, I guess, a Southerner even in the North because she's I believe according to my uncle, they lived in South Boston, so that would make them a Southie.
Right.
It
works that way. That's
yeah. Well, I mean,
still the other side of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, true. However, if you know anything about the history of Boston or the reputation of being of a Southie, and no, I'm talking more than just watching Good Will Hunting and those characters. Yeah, it's like I ran into someone in college, I think, and I was like, yeah, my grandmother was a Southie, and then they kind of looked down on me about that.
Weird.
So I'm like, oh, well, okay.
Well, there you go.
My grandma said I was gonna have problems if I mention it.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I think like internal things that go on in cities and stuff like that. Because I mean, same thing here in Denver. You know, certain people are like, "Oh, you're from that part of town or whatever." It's like, okay, you don't
Yeah,
realize, you know, it's like,
I kind of noticed that when I moved here, people did do stuff like that. It was a very weird experience for me.
right? Because you're like, okay, they didn't do anything, really.
Yeah.
Okay, I think,
Like, people here find it weird that I sit there and they're like, "Oh, where are you from originally?" And I'm like, because clearly they can figure out I'm not originally from Colorado. And I go Jupiter,
yeah, Jupiter.
and they're like, "Where are you really from?" I'm like, "It's a town in Florida.
It's really
It's named Jupiter. It's,
named Jupiter.
you know."
I feel like I did this just completely willy nilly. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. I keep checking.
Ooh.
I've even got an engineering scale here, and I can't figure out what I was trying to do. Like, yeah, I think the closest.
If you
we're
know
gonna get-
what Guy is trying to do, please let him know.
right, please message now if you understand what I'm trying to do, because I think I'm lost. So, okay.
So
The problem is this guy holds 13 across the bay here. There's 13 bays. This-
yeah,
So it doesn't divide evenly. Nothing divides evenly. Because it's 24 inches, or 24, I guess that's centimeters. That's centimeters of 24 centimeters. It's a nice even 24 centimeters going one way.
can I see? Can you put it in more in frame for me so I can see?
Yeah, so I'm trying to replace the thing that was here because I'm going to rearrange my colors here so that I've got the palette matching Miyazaki's palette in the right order. Then I can see which ones I'm missing. So that's the battle plan.
Okay.
So the idea is I'm going to put these guys in when they match-ish the Miyazaki paints, then I'm going to put in empty buckets for all of the ones that I'm missing. And that'll allow me to take a picture, and then I can go to a store anywhere and say, oh, I need this color, this color, this color, and this color, just to get the palette up to speed. Miyazaki's palette holds 24, has 24, so that's going to just be these bays right up here, which is fine, because I can just move them back and forth when I get there. But I need to make a new card up here to tell me which ones I've got. So I've got to make 13 squares this way and then 4 squares, 13 by 4 over here on this page. So that's what we're doing. And then, just like I had done before with this guy, then I'm going to take the paints and paint in a little chip of each color in here so that I can then visually see when I open my paint what it's going to look like. That's the battle plan. But I have, like, I'm trying to figure out now. Okay, I've got Brent on here. Hey, Brent. And what's 24 divided by 13? And see if Brent can tell me which one of these is going to be what I need to do with my pencil.
So for those of you watching, I guess on me put in the paint, I finished the second row. After the violet iron oxide, I have Indian red, burnt sienna, quinacridone burnt orange, raw sienna deep, gold ochre, green gold, Denise's green, which is basically a sack green that's earth friendly and used with PY 129, which is green gold, mixed with PB 60, which is ultramarine blue, and Paraline green is the last one, which is PBK 31. And if you guys do not like the whole pigment codes. I understand a lot of people get very confused with, and it's a very interesting rabbit hole if you go down it. So, all right. So this is the tin that they send with when you can buy it. So you can buy this set without a tin, or you can buy it with the tin. I went ahead and just got it with the tin because it makes my life easier, and I don't have to go scrounging for a tin later. However, you can buy the paint tubes by themselves if you don't like tins, and you can get these same colors. So let me make sure that I read the package correctly.
1.84. Cool. Thank you, Brett.
All right. So this is definitely made in California. Yeah. So
like wildfires. Ooh, too soon.
Yeah, too soon. Too soon. So, anyways, I am. This is the first time which I don't want one of these on here because I got this brand new mixing palette as well. This is me like going, hey, let me show off my birthday gifts.
Okay, better than your birthday suit, I guess.
So, yeah, my birthday was last Sunday.
Happy birthday. You and George.
Yeah. Well, it's a good time to be born.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I'm just going to open this up. Let me see. Where is it? Where's my tool? And yep. Bill, do you have a pair of pliers? Thank you. Not the type of pliers I was hoping for, but that will do.
Hey, how wide are these cups? Are they? I guess they're half an inch.
Are you talking about the pans?
Yeah. None of these numbers are divisible by 13. It's extraordinarily irritating. That's all right. That's all right. We'll get there. We'll get there. Oh, my goodness. All right. If you're wondering, this is an L square. It's like a T square, but only an L.
Trying to see if I have something else on my thing. I just don't. I want to remove this. That's all. Normally I keep them. And in this case, because my initial plan is not working, I'm just going to handle this off camera. Hand the magical pliers back to my husband and continue my day.
Right?
All right. So, nice and handy.
Without
number 6 punch. All right. So, all right. We are gonna do. Okay. I did not mean for the paint to get on.
No, the same thing going the other direction. We're, by the way, using my beloved father's architectural scale, which to some degree it entertains me greatly, that I am misusing this architectural scale. However, it is also my dad's, or was my dad's. I guess he gave it to me, so I am entertained and used to use the scale. Very perplexed, but I want it. It's funny because my dad was I was talking to him and I was like, "Yeah, I'm still looking for your."
Did we lose Guy?
We lost me, but we came back. Am I back?
It seems like you are.
Huh. Yeah, it said, "Oops, something went wrong. We'll restore it," and then it restored, but I blipped. But what's so really weird is I watched me disappear over here. It watched me come back. Anyway, so
Do
I sort of
remember?
You never know. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, the long and the short of this whole story is that my dad.
You got your favorite thing from your dad's office when you were a kid.
Yes, I did. That's right here. I pilfered his Mars rapidographs. Look at that. Ooh.
Did you find out if you just have to clean them and they'll be okay, or?
I don't know. I've got the nib for the blue one in Windex right now, which is went online and looked around. And they were like, you could use cleaner, but Windex works a whole lot better. And I was like, really? That's interesting.
That kind of makes sense though, because there's certain mediums that or tools that work really well with that type of treatment.
Yeah. So yeah, the funny thing was that my dad, of course, being very practical, was like, "Why do you want all this architecture stuff? You're a cartoonist." And I'm like, "Say that again, but slowly." And he's like, "Don't you use totally different tools?" And I'm like, "Not really. Actually, I think for the most part, that's we just keep using architectural tools. It works, you know."
Actually, for the most part, I think there's like a lot of cross. Basically, they're the same tools. So
they're basically the same tools. So yeah.
Yeah.
So he was glad. He was like, "Oh yeah, take them." I mean, I'm glad to hear it. These tools are still gonna be useful, and so he was very excited. But there was this moment of, "But wait, you don't do the same thing I did," and then I was like, "Pretty much I do, actually, Dad."
Yeah.
Architecture and cartooning are not that different, really.
You still need a T-square.
Yep. Even though I'm using an L square, but yeah, it's still. I'm using the L square here. This L square I got 100 years ago too. Boy, I've had that L square.
I kind of miss having an L square around. And I have an L square. Let me be clear. I have an L square in my house.
Right.
What I miss having is an L square that I can draw with, because the L square I have is for cutting wood.
Right.
I'm just watching.
You're watching.
Just watching.
Swatching. Are you swatching what you're doing?
Yes, I'm swatching what I'm doing.
Okay. I am going to get a different pen. We're going to do some pretty serious work here. Got my little pirate rollout, which has all of my pens and things in it. And we're going to take a relatively small pen.
You're going to take some Kelly Clarkson? What?
I'm going to take some Kelly Clarkson. That's okay. Are you picking me up from the microphone here at the desk, or are you picking me up from the microphone at the?
I think I'm picking up wherever you are located, because you only have a single screen. So it's very hard for me to figure out where you're coming from.
Right, but can you hear me when I talk like this? You didn't hear me, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. I think that it's not. It's supposed to be picking up from my desk camera audio.
Gotcha.
And it's not. So I'm going to try to figure out what the story is with the desk camera.
Ooh, I really like this cerulean blue hue.
It's not as good as fellow blue. Just saying.
Yeah, but I also have phthalo green.
That's true. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just turn the speaker up, or the microphone up on the mixer, and I'll aim it more towards me, because I don't know it's something went bork on my OBS. And I literally think I did something. I screwed something up. I'm not saying OBS did anything. I'm more than willing to believe this is me. Somehow I have borked it, and I don't know exactly what I was doing. So we'll figure it out, though.
So the one thing I can say so far about these paints that I am swatching right now is they definitely go down very jewel toned, but there is a little bit of a shift in hue once it's dried.
That makes sense.
Not in a bad way, just, you know, I'm just noticing that that's what's happening here. Sure.
Yeah. So that was what I was asking about earlier, was paint shifting when they're put down on paper.
You get paint shifting depending on the style. My experience with paint shifting usually is completely based off of the type of paint medium that you're using. And that was one thing I wanted to touch base on for this episode was paint mediums. Because you have right now on the market, I think the most flooded one is the gum arabic one. The gum arabic base paint medium, which is what a lot of hand I use it. I use a variation of it. I develop my own recipe for my own paint. And then I also know of other people who use a vegan recipe. I switched to a vegan recipe recently, but I still know the recipe I used for honey, which honey, gum arabic, and that sort of paint medium is widely used in Europe.
Right.
It's also a how do I want to put it? The one thing that people don't realize is watercolor is like kind of like an evolution of a style of paint, because traditional Japanese watercolor based paints are not done by gum arabic. So Ganzai Tambi paints, which are made by traditional methods of Japanese watercolors, and I believe there's a couple of others on the market that actually use the same type of pigment. Ganzai Tambi, if you're vegan and stuff like that, a lot of people don't use them because they use a base that has animal included in the binder.
Right. It seems like it'd be really hard to get both natural and vegan.
Right. Like, so for my vegan recipe, I personally use corn syrup because that's what it's good for.
And making you fat. It's very good.
Yeah, and making people fat, yes. But I choose to make watercolor with it because
it's not fattening.
Yeah, that and the fact of the more I thought about using the honey aspect of it, even though I go and I do my research and everything about the honey I do use, it's one of those moments where I have to kind of gauge whether or not that this is going to be something that long term.
Right.
Yeah.
And give this just a second here, and then hit it with the eraser.
Yeah, so, but also because of the Gonzai Tambi being made in a traditional Japanese watercolor way, a lot of people online, I've noticed, like, make a comment like, oh, Gonzai Tambi watercolors aren't really watercolors.
Right.
The thing is watercolors used to be made with animal byproducts all the time, and I believe in a previous episode of Watercolor Wednesday, I even touched base on there are pigments that are made from animal as well.
Right. You were talking about black and white, which are made from bones.
Yes, and then there's also carmine, which I believe is a pigment powder made from crushed beetles.
Yeah, see, I'll never use that ever again.
Well, genuine carmine. There's a synthetic carmine now, which is what a lot of people have switched to. But if you do get genuine carmine, you actually are. It's crushed beetles.
Yeah,
it smells weird too if you ever smell it.
That's me not using that ever again. I am not a Ferengi. I don't need beetle snuff.
I missed the swatch.
Orate. Just went in, penciled in a design, and now I'm going back and erasing the pencil. Makes it look like I meant to do this way.
Well, I'm enjoying this Denise's green, that's for sure. It's an alternative to genuine sap green. I like that.
Yay, bugs. Print. Yay, bugs.
Well, the funny thing is the bugs that they do them with in question, like they're attracted to cacti.
Makes them cacti bugs.
Yeah. I mean, that's on how they get them, I guess.
Maybe. All right. Start pulling out these pens. You know what I should do, though? Before I do that, because otherwise I'm never going to find these things ever again. Let's do this. I'm going to put the old chart back in. Take my phone, take a picture of it. So that just in case I have to figure out what the heck I just did, I can. Now I'm going to take the pans out. I'm going to lay them out on this old chart. They We're done with all the pins except for the 005.
Don't mind me. I'm actually planning something over
Christmas
here.
break? Oh, wait.
No, over here, and I'm trying to get some skin tone action to see what I can do.
Skin tone action.
Yeah. Well, mainly I'm trying to match my skin to I have to do a picture, a family portrait for my sister, which I've been neglecting to get done. So, there's that.
Right?
It's not that I don't love my sister. It's just I finally got time to do it. I even share a birthday with her. Alright.
There you go.
So I think I can do this in washes. Cool.
It makes sense that I would use a foxtail to clean off my desk. I'm just saying.
You use a foxtail to clean off your desk. What are you doing over there, guy?
He's referring to my brush.
Oh.
I've got a very large artist brush that hangs out over here by my desk. But it looks like a foxtail. And so he's making a comment because I go by Foxtail Graphics a lot of the time. So that's the joke he's making, which is a funny joke. I like it. It was good.
He likes the joke.
I did like the joke.
Yeah. My husband is over here going, he got jokes, folks.
Yep.
I'm just like also trying to come up with some eerie colors. I'm doing a lot of mixing with this because this is the first time I've gotten like almost a full pan that has almost all single pigment paints, which is fun.
Right?
Outside of the two that I mentioned, pretty much everything with the exception of gold ochre, Denise's green, and cerulean blue hue are single pigment. Dual pigment is gold ochre, Denise's green, and cerulean blue hue. So,
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Brent was commenting that they're called foxtails in the military.
Oh, okay.
I've forgotten that. That brush. That style of brush, I guess I should say. These guys are like stuck together. These guys are stuck to the thingy. I am pulling out all of the pans in here. These are the empty pans because we're going to, at some point, I know I'm going to have empty pans. I do not have enough colors to match the palette. So I'm pulling out all of the old pans out of here, all the empties, and I'm putting them over here. Whoops, and throwing them around. Now, for this side, I'll pull out these pans as well, but unlike the other side, I'm going to take these guys and I'm going to put them on their spots so I can find them and their names whenever I place them. Clearly, we have gotten ourselves kind of tangled up here.
Oh, what a web we weave.
Yes.
Yes, Peanut Gallery that I call Bill. Keep clearing it all more.
Message from Bill.
Messages from Bill.
I like messages from Bill.
Do we have any messages from Bill this morning? He says no messages.
Oh,
We're not talking about something he's interested in, so
that's fair. I did make a Ferengi joke earlier. At least that.
I know, and I even mentioned may the LaForge be with you, and he said nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. He chuckled. That's what he just said. If you did not hear that, he chuckled.
Chuckled.
I tee-heed.
You tee-heed?
It's like a personal problem.
Yeah, I know, right? No. I know I missed something. I know I missed the color. I must have skipped something somewhere.
Yeah, we gotta go check everything whenever we screw these things up.
It's either that or I got the same color twice and the tubes were mislabeled, but I don't think so. I don't know.
These guys are all stuck in here. It's really weird. I don't remember paint leaking under here, but apparently it did.
Oh. That's not a good
It's kind of
sign.
stuck. That doesn't look like paint. That's sticky still. Weird.
Maybe it is paint. Maybe it's not. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of wondering what it's like a glue, almost. Huh. My phthalo blue. Phthalo. Okay. Now I've pulled everything out of the pan, and now I'm going to deal with this weird, whatever this is that's going on here. And come back over here. Right? Brent's like, don't forget to comment all changes in your code. I'm chuckling at him, but the truth is, that is exactly what I'm thinking, which is, if I don't note where everything went, I'm gonna lose track of all of these paints. So he's not wrong. He's certainly not wrong. Huh. Weird. It's like a glue or something in there. Yeah, I know. Well, I got the backups working again. And actually, they did end up restoring from backup at one point, but my site was down for a remarkably long time.
Oh, speaking of websites getting back up, we're getting close to having ours getting back up.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I go work on my website, it ends up being a week's worth of work. Every time. I just want to add one thing. And then it blows up, explodes, something goes wrong. I don't know when. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't. Really, what happens is I don't maintain my site. So, as much as I would love to say that this was somebody else's fault, it really isn't. What happens is I don't maintain the site, and so when a year and a half passes by, and I'm like, I got to go fix the stupid thing, and I'll go in there, and nothing's been updated and nothing's been checked, or because this is what I do all day long. This paints and things. And I don't think about my stupid website.
Yeah.
But in the case of what was going on this time, somebody contacted me and said, "Hey, can I see your photography portfolio?" And I said, "Oh yeah, sure." And went and looked at my website, and I had all of one photograph on there. And I'm like, I need a better rig for this. And in the process of trying to install a new gallery program, it blew the whole thing up. And I was like, damn it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It was enough to make me like really bitter and angry.
A bitter, angry guy is not always a good guy.
Right?
That came out weird.
That's all right. I understood what you meant. Yeah, and it's WordPress. And, and immediately, of course, it wasn't just Brent, but many of my friends were like, well, you should stop using WordPress. And I'm like, and use what? And like one of my friends was like, just learn code and code it yourself. And I'm like, yeah, 3 years later, I've got a website.
Hey, Bill, you want to chime in? Messages from Bill.
Things like WordPress exist because people have other things to do.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's really the truth. I don't need the website to be pretty. Except that I don't want people to be like actively offended by it. But yeah, it just needs to be like a handful of galleries, and that's really what it needs to be. Someday I'll put a store on there, and
I could code an entire store, but I have other things I'd rather do. So
right, exactly. We have lives. Okay, Crimson Lake. I think I can probably safely say that crimson makes a good Crimson Lake analog. Opera. I don't have an opera. That's that pink, which I'm actually kind of hoping you'll take that nuclear pink and make that for me at some point in time, because that would be a lot of fun. That vermilion hue looks very orange. So I'll do that. And then we have a yellow ochre, which is yellow ochre. That's pretty straight up. Then we have permanent lemon yellow. That's pretty much you, right there. Okay. And then we have permanent yellow deep, which I think is this guy. It's kind of a more medium yellow. And then a permanent yellow orange. Yeah, if I'm going to do the yellow ochre, though, I'm going to do the better yellow ochre, I think. And just eject that yellow ochre. I have 2 yellow ochres. And so I was like, well, maybe that's not what I want. So yellow orange.
Yeah, you can go. You can have the same yellow ochre from like in pigment powder. I have like 3 of them.
Yeah.
They all produce a different color.
Well, and my feeling really is at some point I'm going to contract you to generate this palette, but it's expensive to have you do the whole palette and time consuming and yada. So this is one of those, hey, Pepper, over the next 5 years or so, will you replicate this palette like when you've got spare time and we've got spare cash, sort of thing.
I was actually thinking about that because we've talked about doing the palette enough to basically have me look up which color codes each of the pigments in the stuff are like kind of in the mix there.
Yeah.
And I think they're all purchasable with the exception of maybe a few which we would have to change to make it like kind of like our own. But my only worry or concern is if someone if someone one day asks, hey, can I buy that palette?
Right. Well, like I said, what we do is we call it the Guy and Pepper Anime-esque palette. and leave it. You know, we just name it something that nobody will be offended by. You can't copyright 24 colors and say you can't ever use this combination of 24 colors ever again.
Right. I mean, and I just use 20, and I have 24 colors right here. And what I like about this particular palette so far is the fact that there is no black.
Right.
Like, I can mix some colors together to get a gray or something like that. But like, I'm kind of waiting to, like, oh yeah, these are still a little bit damp. I'm waiting to turn the page so I can do like a small piece with the stuff that I've already done. So
Right. So the Viridian hue.
And Bill just said that once I turn the page, I need to wash my hands.
Right.
So
Answer the whole thing.
yeah.
And-
So let me, like, I'm like looking at the stuff that you have there. So did you line everything up with the hues?
No, I'm lining them up with literally the thing here, with the thing that's on the palette thingy that we made.
Okay.
So I'll share that real quick, just so that people can remember. This is the order of which I'm doing it in.
Okay.
So the guys that are over there are all in this order. So that's the order that's this order here.
Okay.
Here was my old palette. This is my new palette, which I'm organizing exactly like the Miyazaki palette, so that then we can see which ones are missing. Like I'm missing already 3, which I couldn't find a relative simulacrum over here for.
Mm.
And at some point, I'll replace all of them with colors
Okay.
accurate to the original colors. But for right now, I just need to get some shading here, and then I didn't feel like I had a permanent yellow orange that was the right sort of shade for this. And this is yellow gray, and it kind of looks like color, but not quite like this color.
I have yellow gray.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking is I could probably just go to some place, like you and I were going to talk about this. You were like, we will go to a Michael's together or whatever.
I think we agreed to go to Gyrie's because they sell the 5mm tubes versus the 15 milliliter tubes that are purchasable at Menninger's.
Agreed. And so that was so we were going to go to Gyrie's, but first I need to kind of get an idea. What am I missing, right? So these are the 2 greens that are in the bottom there. So I put in my military green, that sap green, rather than the one that's in the replaced palette, which is that permanent green number 1.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that olive drab-ish green, which is closer to the sap green.
Yeah.
And then this plum green is very close to what they replaced it with, I feel like.
Yeah.
But then, then we're again sort of at a, that's fine, but there's no, I don't really feel like the green number 2 doesn't fit that, and neither does the bamboo green. So we're missing a few greens, which makes sense.
I'll be realistic though, like I don't like the bamboo green.
Yeah, well, and
I
that's
don't like the bamboo green because I grew up with people. Okay, so in Florida, bamboo is an invasive species of plant because people thought, oh well, Florida's tropical, it probably goes here, and then they released it.
Right.
Hate to break it to you, bamboo is grass, and grass in Florida grows very, very rapidly. And bamboo is like a horrible thing to plant there because it's not native.
That makes sense.
So you have a bunch of people that have bamboo now in their yards and stuff.
I don't really want it.
But at the same time, like, we used to chop it down for people.
Right?
I know the green very, very well. And the green that's in the paint and the green, like, when people say it's bamboo green paint, like, it's not bamboo color. Because bamboo green is actually more of like a diluted sap green.
Right. Real quickly, to Brent's statement, the last time I programmed in HTML, there was no CSS. So that's part of the reason why I'm like,
Well, he's talking about HTML5.
no less. Which,
Yeah, but the HTML coding that you're talking about is HTML with no
one
number.
or two. Exactly. So he's like, I proto, and that's why, you know, everybody's like, just, it's okay, just do it yourself. And I'm like, yeah, right. See, I don't think you understand. I coded in the 90s.
Yeah.
So it's always a thing. I'm actually going to replace this sap green because this bucket's so screwed up.
Is it like chalky or something, or what's
No,
going
it's
on?
not. It's not. Whatever is that sticky stuff that's under the.
Oh, it's separated from the binder.
No. Oh no. I'm talking about the pan. Yes, my sap green has separated from its binder. That's always nice. But
Okay. Is it still like fluid or no?
yeah, it still works. I'm talking about this bucket. It's hard to see, but it's got something like it's like a glue that got underneath there. I don't know if you can see kind of what's going on here.
It looks like paint.
Super
Like
sticky.
it looks like the paint binder must have gotten on your finger or somehow.
Right? So I'm just going to refill with a new bucket and throw that bucket out. Because these are cheap. And
Yeah, but you can also wash them.
well, that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to ultimately wash that guy and it'll be fine.
Yep. Wash that guy right out of your hair.
Right?
All right. I'm trying to think of what to draw.
Excuse me.
Hey, I didn't make that bad of a joke to lose one of our only other viewers. Damn. Make
Right?
one bad joke.
But that joke
Everyone's a
was
critic. Everyone's a critic.
Okay, cobalt blue hue. We only really have two blues in here. This is kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do this was because I'm like, there are six blues in this palette. And I have two.
I noticed that his very blue heavy.
Yeah, I guess for making oceans.
Well, yeah, he does make a lot of oceans.
So it makes some sense. But I feel like, okay, so I guess if you count that lavender, which we're going to replace, we're going to replace that lavender with the purple because we didn't like that lavender. So we decided we were going to swap that out for purple.
And I believe the swap out was initially it's a light pale pink mixed with a purple hue.
Yeah.
To make a what is known as gray pink or pink gray. So we'll have to get together and get that color.
I will use my beloved phthalo to replace the cobalt blue.
It's actually not a bad idea because cobalt blue hue or cobalt blue hue is actually like more conscious. Actual cobalt apparently is poisonous, so
And then ultramarine goes there. Yeah, And then compose blue, which is you. And then Prussian blue is you. And there are all the blues. Isn't that funny? Look at that. I'm already missing a ton from there. So that's good. Then we've got, let's see, lavender, which was replaced by that pink purple. I don't have a pink purple, but I can use this guy for right now as sort of a semi in there. And then there's a bright violet. I'm noticing that the colors, the color choices for those are really red shifted, and my purples are blue shifted. Because like my permanent violet looks similar to the bright violet, like sort of. I don't know. I'm kind of like looking at this going, well, yeah, that Praetorian purple that the Romans had. Yeah, that's pretty. Right? Okay, so I'm trying to decide whether I want to do violet or not in this, or rather just go out and find a pink purple set for these two.
Well, I do have manganese violet, which is kind of like a warm purple.
Right, well, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So I am trying to get to these two right here. Well, this guy.
Hold on. I can help you out. Hold on. Look at my screen.
I'm looking at your screen. Although you may not be solving my problem by painting on a piece of paper. I'm just saying.
No, but I'm saying that I may have to give you or gift you a purple.
Do you have a
How's
purple?
this? How's this as a comparison? May not be as bright, but it is my brightest purple.
It's close. It just needs to be close. But see, even that purple looks bluer.
But it is a warm purple, and you're viewing it on a
monitor.
On a monitor.
Right? Yeah, because I mean, that which will we replace this violet gray down here with that, or do we think that's closer to this bright violet? Because I'm dumping this lavender. It looks blue. And I already have literally 5 shades of blue in here. Good morning, Donald.
Good morning, Donald.
Well, I hope the doctor's visit's good. I know that you were not doing well last week, so good to see you back up on your feet and moving and being and existing. I need you to stick around with us. We've got dad jokes to tell.
Yes.
Whether Pepper agrees or not.
Well, I know I can't do dad jokes because, I already made a viewer leave.
Well, now, wait a minute. I think that your monitor has 5 pigments. That's cute. That is cute. Okay, that was good. That was good. So here's the thing. Pepper, we know we've got both Brent and Donald on here, and look at our viewer number. So I think it miscounts because I see physically 2 people on here and it says 1. So I don't know if it's only counting Facebook or if it's only counting Twitch or what. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm going to move back to my desk, and we're going to keep going down the line. So do we think that neither one of my purples are going to work for this? Because I actually kind of think that.
I think you should just use a substitute purple for right now until we find the purple that
Better
you're looking
purples.
for.
Well, if we don't put blanks in there, I'm gonna think I don't need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying to put a blank in. I'm saying like use the purple that you have right now.
Well, I hear you. What I'm trying to say though is that if we don't put blanks, I'm gonna put all of the rest of these guys down on the bottom rack. So it's not like they're not gonna be there.
Yeah.
That's true. It could be on any one of the pages out of Facebook. So I'm going to definitely put them all in. I just need to decide whether I'm going to put blanks in and say we need to get the bright violet and the violet gray as a more pinkish violet. And yeah. Look, now we have 3. Brent hopped over to GS Davis Art, and we went from 1 to 3. That's so weird. So now it's accurately counting both Brents and 1 Donald.
Sweet.
Donald, I'm sorry to hear about your knee, bro. That's rough. So I am going to go on ahead and just...
I hope your knee feels better.
I agree. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go on ahead and put the empty pans in up here for the violets. And then put the violets down here on the second rack. So we'll still have them, but they'll be blue violets, and that'll be fine. Okay, light red, it really looks very much like a brown. So here are all of the brownish ones that I've got. This looks like that light red. Looks more like a burnt sienna to me. There's also a sepia. And then a burnt umber. Okay. So that light red looks very much like my burnt sienna. So put there. And then we have a burnt umber, which pretty much looks like my burnt umber. It's interesting because I guess maybe the sepia would look more like what they're thinking is this light red. And burnt umber and burnt sienna. There's a lot of burning going on over here. Burny, burny, burny.
Well, that's what happens when you draw a lot of trees and a lot of water. You got a lot of browns, you got a lot of blues, a lot of happy little trees.
Happy little trees. Like these two are glued together. Which is, I guess, okay. Because that's a Davies gray. And this is a Payne's gray. And this is a much bluer and darker gray. So I'm going to call it not in here.
Davies gray and Payne's gray kind of are similar, so you can probably get away with it. However, the only difference is Davies gray has the inclusion of white.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is the Davies gray looks lighter. It looks more like a. Oof! Can't sleep. See, I feel bad now because I didn't sleep last night either. But I didn't sleep just because I got the random heebie-jeebies. You know, you wake up and you're like, wonder what happened to my mom's best friend from the 80s. Gosh, I hope she didn't die. You know, then you have to like Google search her and see. And, you know, I don't know. One of those weird things. So, I don't know what happened to her, but she, you know, she took care of the kids, took care of my sister and I many days because we were latchkey.
Yeah.
For a long time. And so she was studying to be a nurse. And so she just sit there with all of her books out on the table studying. And, you know, we'd come home and she'd say, okay, do your homework. You know, do you need food? Everything good? Okay, don't kill each other. And I'll study. but she was really nice and I liked her a lot. And I don't remember her from 1986 on at all, period. She just was never there. And I'm like, oh. She was doing physical therapy with people who had multiple sclerosis. And she was an in-house caretaker for one lady who was also a very lovely lady, but was also very crippled by multiple sclerosis, like could not move. Uh-oh. What happens when you have violet, pink, sapphire, and light music? I don't know. This is like a thing. Donald's making a joke. I'm worried about this punchline. I'm just saying. I don't know what the punchline is, but it's worth.
If it's in the world of crystal gems and Steven Universe, I guess a good fusion.
Right?
I don't know. Outside that.
Okay. Strippers at a club or Soundgarden. Oh man. That's cute. Okay. Here's what
Well, if it's a strippers at a club, you're missing one key stripper that's always at the club.
Right?
There's always a candy and there's always a cinnamon. I don't know. My dad really never talked about going to strip clubs with me when I was a kid, so I don't know that.
That's a dad joke. Alrighty. Color names. Yep. Bubbles, diamond. Yeah, I get it. I get it. He's trying to make fun with the names that we've got going on here. Because honestly, we really do have wild names. I mean, permanent yellow, orange.
Well, I mean, to say that color names aren't names of strippers is kind of like trying to say that Bambi is only used for the deer. I guess.
I don't think I'm following you on that. Okay.
I don't know.
Green, yellow.
I grew up in an area of Florida where a father was concerned about his daughters doing stripping, and so he made a company called Rachel's. Rachel's was a strip club that he named that he made so his daughters would basically strip safely.
Okay.
So there you go. Again, I am from Florida, so that is a very Florida thing.
Fair. I mean, like I have oft said, if that's your thing, there shouldn't be a law against it. You know?
Well, I mean, in Florida, I believe you can pretty much do everything with the exception of one article of clothing can't be taken off.
Right. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is, like, some people are turned on by that, and that's their thing. And that, if that, I guess that's I've always sort of felt, well, of course, we all know I can go on tirades about our bizarre cultural problems with nudity, because we're all broken here. I don't even know what in the world's going on. But yeah, I mean, but if that's their thing, I don't know why we should have a law against it. Like I have oft said this because Brent's saying it's a great way to make money for college-aged people, and I'm like, you know what? If that's a thing, that's a thing. My wife used to make extra money by posing for the artists in her college.
My mom was a pool shark.
Yeah, I mean, it was like she'd go to classes because she didn't care. She's never had body shame. She's never had like that kind of, just not her style. I mean, she's just not. It doesn't bother her, which is extremely useful as an artist, by the way. I can't figure this pose out. And she was okay. I'll sit here trying to figure it out. Thank you. But
It's almost as like she knew she was going to be married to an artist one day.
yeah, I know. But yeah, I mean, it's for her. Everybody was like, "Oh, you did," and she's like, "Yes, I did." She's like, "It's a human body, guy."
My only issue that I ever had with the nude modeling was when one of my teachers did it.
Yeah, I know.
And it becomes a really weird dynamic in the class after that, because you now just saw your teacher naked and now you cannot unsee it.
It depends on what your teacher's like. If I'm your teacher, issues. So, if my wife was your teacher, that's a different story.
I just see you up
I
on
see
the
Messages from Bill.
I just see you up on the stage with all the other girls, and there's just you standing out.
Right?
You know what it is? It's, how in perfume you have to have that one element of bad scent to make.
Yes.
Are you calling a bad scent?
Well, if you're going to a strip club and it's a whole bunch of ladies, and then there's
And
guys.
me. Yeah, I was gonna say, stand up there.
You make all the other girls shine.
Right? Exactly. That's my job, is to make you shine. Now get to work. Get to work.
As messed up as that is,
Yeah.
and to Donald's effect comment, I do want to say, I actually know strippers that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that I'm.
I think it shouldn't be stigmatized. That's my biggest problem. Because I completely agree. And like I said, is if you're safe, if you have no shame, body shame, if it's not like going to be a big issue for you, then there's no real reason for you to get all worked up about it,
Well, and also at the same time, like I said, there was a father. He had 2 daughters. He didn't like the fact that his daughters had to do stripping to go to college. And so he made a gentleman's club called Rachel's in Florida. Now, they have 2 types of Rachel's. One where you go into the gentleman's club side, and then the other side is a family restaurant. Because guess what? The guy originally owned a family diner.
Right.
That he turned into a gentleman's club.
Right?
Because his daughters couldn't make enough in tips to work specifically only for him.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, and like I said, there is a little bit of a difference between being forced into stripping, but I know people who they wouldn't care, and it'd be just like another job for them,
Yeah. But also at the same time, the girls in question that I'm talking about, like, they did it, and I believe one of them, like, went into the family business, took over for her father afterwards.
Right?
So I mean, it's not like this was a weird situation where the father was like forcing the daughters.
Right? No,
It
no.
was
Yeah.
it was something that they wanted to do. It's kind of like when you watch documentaries about the porn industry. It's super weird when you see a parent very proud in it because like you want to say that every parent wants to be proud of their child's actions. But when they do it and inadvertently call their daughter a whore, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, see, that's not fun.
Yeah.
But that's that's the stigma I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like I'd like it, when it's like everything that I write into Bellatrix Rising has something to do with this. Like I think about all of these things, and sex should be destigmatized. All that stuff should be. It's not healthy. Hey, I think of this because my kid is in 5th grade, and he's just starting the sex ed stuff. And so he's coming home every day with questions. Cool, not a problem. But we're giving him all the information, like all of it, and he asks all these questions. And last night was the best one because one of his YouTubers has been giggling about 69. Every time 69 shows up, the YouTuber gets the fit of the giggles, and he doesn't understand what that means. So we explained it to him. You should have seen the look on his face.
Was it horrified or like
horrified? He's like, "You stick what where?"
you put your mouth where?
Yeah, you put your mouth where? And so that was when we started saying, be sure to shower before you do all of this stuff. Clean everything really nicely.
Or afterwards.
Yeah,
and as Bill puts it, Bill basically is like shower after too.
Yes. But I mean, he's 11. He's pre-puberty. None of this makes any sense to him. So we're just loading him up with data points at this point in time. He's got no basis for this yet. I was like, usually you play doctor with the girls at this point in time. And he's like, well, I haven't done that yet. And I'm like, well, okay, there's no rush. But it does mean that you probably don't know how the anatomy works. So it was like really funny. It was a great discussion, but we've been very open about all of this stuff and how it all works. And I'm like, what I said to him was, what I want you to remember is remember this feeling right now where none of this seems logical or reasonable, and hold on to that, because when you're 14, this is all going to be like the most interesting thing you've ever done. And I want you to remember that, because so many of us forget that hormones can control and dominate. We all think we're super intelligent creatures that are not at the whims of our hormones. But like, if you can remember being 11 and like, why in the world would I want to do that to a girl?
We're
And
just really smart animals.
right? And then like 3 years later, you're like, I've got to do this to this girl. So if you can remember that and hold on to it, keeps you humble.
True. I don't know, like I guess I was just raised really super weird. So like if I went to my mom with questions, like she answered them.
Mm-hmm.
But if I went to like my grandparents for like those types of questions, they were like, ask your mother.
Right.
Like it was very much we are not your parent in this situation.
Well, in the case of this, that was actually the same way I was raised. My mom and my dad were very open. They explained everything. I was the one in school that everybody came to and asked questions of because my mom had already laid it all out in extreme detail. And like I said, at the time, I had my mom's friend who was a nurse.
Yeah.
So she had books with pictures. You know, it was like, so it was really cool. And actually, it was something I was talking to my kid about last night. Like, you know what? My maquettes from Dad's studio are remarkably anatomically correct. If you have questions, we can talk about all of it and use the maquettes and show you without having to be explicit and weird.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't know what a girl's body parts look like. Which he didn't say that. I'm just being nice because we're on air. Yeah. We've taught him to speak to use the correct language. Because I guess he's never played doctor yet. And so which
I mean, I had a weird, like, the thing is the reason why I say I had a weird childhood was, well, I have 5 sisters,
right.
and 2 of them I changed diapers to.
Right, exactly. You know how it all works with that. He
Yeah.
never had a sister. Well,
Yeah.
he has like an older niece, or I have a niece. He has an older cousin but she was through puberty before he was really remembering anything. So now she's like, no. Donald's like, it's been so long, I'm almost unsure myself. I feel it, bro. But yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, right? Brent's going through the same spot right now, except he's going through it with his kiddo. And he's on the other gender spectrum, has to be doing the other side of this discussion, which Brent is then serving the spot my wife serves on it. Like, that was the question that started it, which was, what is puberty like for both of you guys? Right? Well, my wife's like, my boobs hurt, which is not something you'd think would happen. But she was like, be nice to the girls around you because just giving them a hug can hurt. She's like, I didn't think my boobs would hurt. And so, that was an interesting, I didn't know that. Except that I probably had heard from, I hung out with a female friend in high school, so I kind of get instinctually, I'm about to go away again.
No!
I'm having connection issues, so if I vanish, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was the thing I loved about Starship Troopers. And actually, I am doing the exact same thing with Electric Rising. In the center of the ship is the ship showers. And we're just going to do that. If you need to take a shower, you go take a shower. If Bob and are both in there already, you wave at them, you say hi, you turn on the water, and you take a shower. Nobody thinks about it. You know what I mean? That was the coolest thing about Starship Troopers. Which apparently, the entire scene was so for all the actors. It's so funny. It was like, and it had to be filmed so carefully because, of course, you can show fully naked women, but you can't show fully naked men without an X rating, which is another one of those weird things. Yeah, my sound's garbling. So, I'm popping it up. So anyway, we have the first set of these, missing a few.
Okay.
So these are the ones that we're missing. The rest of these bottom rack. So I'm not worried. That's cobalt. You're going to be there too at some point. Just saying.
All right.
You're going to have to sit
Have
down.
fun with the minion.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow. But, yeah, I'm looking at you and thinking you and Bill are going to have this time. It's only a matter of time, Pepper.
For what? Oh,
When you're going to have
for
to sit down and have sex ed with your kid.
well, I mean, it for me, my family always like made it super embarrassing when I asked questions.
Right.
Like my dad had this thing where, oh, I should have my son do this in front of his sisters. Let's not make it private at all. And
That's
so,
not the embarrassing I thought it was going to be.
well, no, I mean, it's not like, you know, it's one of those moments where there's certain parts of my parents' I kind of do not want to reproduce for my own kids.
We're gonna have to bring in a female perspective if we have a girl. That's for sure.
Hey,
Yeah.
I still think a full moon party is appropriate, no matter what my friends who are female say. Okay, I think guys' wife would appreciate the fact that I make a whole entire day all about my daughter learning about her biology from other women.
Yes.
You know,
And you guys do have a unique situation because Bill's right, all male.
yeah,
And even more importantly is if you have a boy, because you're going to end up with a full male perspective. And there are things that like my wife was bringing up that, I mean, just last night when she was like talking about, be careful hugging your female friends for the next couple of years because the breasts are tender and they hurt. And I had forgotten that, but I actually remember I had a buddy and I hugged her. Actually, I didn't hug her. I think I actually hit her in the chest and she slugged me. I mean, but she was a friend and it wasn't unintentional. I didn't mean to hit her, but she hit me on the shoulder pretty good. She's like, that hurt. She was mad. But I had to learn the hard way. So it's kind of one of those things. I don't disagree. You guys are going to have a unique situation that you're going to have to work with, I think.
yeah.
Not impossible. Over, not something you can come. It's going to be easy. It's just you have to be cognizant. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you get the same thing when you're a single parent. Because you
Yeah,
go
I mean-
with just one perspective on that, and little things.
Well, it's kind of like I think I'm going to probably try to do, like, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so when did I start getting talked about puberty and stuff like that? And when did my sisters start finding out?
Yeah.
Well, my two oldest sisters, I think, got the info about what was happening to my oldest sister at the same time. So, like, try to help her remember. I don't know if my younger sister was involved at that time because
Right.
she was only 6 years old.
Right. Well, we've been very about sex in general, right?
Yeah.
So, like, we never did the kids came from Cabbage Patches or anything silly like that. Obviously.
Oh no, we weren't done that. Like I already knew where, like, I knew babies came from my mom.
Right.
Like I
All the babies.
knew that.
Everybody's babies, other people's babies too.
Yeah, no, well, no, I'm from a large family. So
Yeah.
like when my mom was pregnant, I had two other aunts that were pregnant at the same time.
Right.
Actually three other aunts.
We've been
because my sister was born, my cousin John was born, Angie was born, and Lisa were born all in the same year.
Right.
So
we've been making jokes in the car about how every song is about sex.
yeah.
we'll listen to a song from the back seat. I'll hear him go, "This is about him trying to get into that girl's pants, isn't it?" You know, and stuff like that. This is about sex, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
They're all about
they're
sex.
just using euphemisms and and stuff like that. That's been sort of an ongoing joke. So he has known since he was very, very little that that's just a function of life. You eat, you go to the bathroom, and then somewhere along the line, we all have sex, and then we make more kids, and in 80s it's drugs or sex. Yeah, pretty much. And of course, that's what we listen to primarily because I'm old. We listen to 80s music. But some of it's obvious. George Michael's "I Want Your Sex" is pretty straightforward, but some of it's not. It's not so blatant or whatever.
Whatchamacallit, was it Lady Gaga when she first came out? She had a song called "Disco Stick," and she was on the radio, and she was like, kind of like, well, I mean, it's exactly what you think it is. But also at the same time, like with Bill, I was like, well, when we have kids, like especially when we have a daughter, if we do have a daughter, like, yeah, he's gonna have to tone some of his music a little bit because I'm not basically making it so that she thinks that it's okay for some of the song lyrics to happen.
Yeah, that's one of what's his name's "Shape of You." That song. My niece is really into that song, and one day we were driving to school because I take them both to school at the same time, and she was listening to it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not very fond of it." She's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Well, think about what he's saying. All he's saying is like her value is in her body, not in anything about her. All he's talking about is all of her body parts." And I'm like, "What does that say?" And she's like, "I never thought of it that way." I'm like, there's a lot of stuff out there that's like that, and I don't appreciate it. And I was saying to her, I'm like, your value is more than just your body. You are a person. You're a human. You have feelings, and I don't want people to reduce you to that.
Well, it's kind of like I have a friend who had all boys, and she became a single parent. One of her sons got a girl's number in a successful date by basically just saying the lyrics of an Usher song.
Jeez.
I mean, props to him for getting the date. But then when she told me the song, I was like, "That's a horrible song to get a date off of."
Right? But these songs are like, I don't get it. But I mean, it's always been that way. It's always been that way. There are 80s songs that I listen to. Like, my wife has banned ZZ Top's "Legs." That song is banned. and I never thought of it because, of course, it's an 80s song. And so I grew up with it and never gave a second thought. But listening to the lyrics, I can see why she's like, "That's it. This one's banned." So I can keep Sharp Dressed Man, but I can't have it.
You're talking about the song "Legs," right?
Yeah, she's banned it, and she's got legs and she knows how to use them. Okay, but the song is all about this biological woman's legs, and nothing else. There's nothing really about it, and so I get it. I just think it's funny that I never really, and I'm very sensitive to this. This is a topic that's important to me, and I'm sensitive to. Even I hadn't thought of it until she said something. I was like, "Well, I'll be damned, she's right. That's not the world's best influence on our child."
Well, it's kind of like what was it when I was visiting family and I basically just made the casual comment like because I got Boomerang and I was like, yeah, I'm watching Boomerang and I'm kind of looking back at some shows, cartoon shows, and I'm like, I don't think I want to show these to my kids until they're
Right.
like a certain age. And
Yeah.
they're like, but they're cartoon shows. What's wrong with it? And I'm like, you do realize that if I end up having a daughter who doesn't want to stay at home, showing her the Flintstones may not necessarily be the best idea for what she can expect in the real world.
Right. And that's true. Anything from the 50s, out of context, that gets really weird. If you idolize Lucy, from I Love Lucy, which is ironic since really Lucy started Desilu and she's
responsible for Star Trek.
Right. She's the mother of Star Trek. We're just saying. Right.
I mean, she took a risk on Star Trek, and it paid off for her.
It did, and I'm so grateful as a person who's a Trekkie. I actually love there are a bunch of people out there who've been making Photoshop changes, like Photoshop mashups of Lucille Ball as an admiral, and it's just awesome. So they've got her in an admiral's uniform and everything like that. I'm like, see, I'm willing to accept that. I'm willing to say Lucille Ball could be Admiral Ball, and I'm good with that.
Yeah. But also at the same time, when you're talking about this stuff, Lucille Ball was kind of an enigma in her time.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was a producer. She was also an actor. Yeah, Ren and Stimpy, I don't think I would actually equate Lucille Ball to, but I also wouldn't, like, I've rewatched that show, and trust me, that is a stoner show. Like, that is a show that I think if I watch,
it was a stoner show.
If I walked in with my kids, like, watching TV and that was on, I would be expecting them to smoke pot. Right. Same with South Park, but I also have to remember when South Park came out, I was a teenager, so I watched that show, but I got bored with it.
Yeah, I couldn't stand. I am such a snob when it comes to animation. I couldn't stand South Park, not because of anything that they said, but because the animation was just so terrible. I was offended by the animation. I still am offended by the animation. And so, but I'm a snob, and I know I'm a snob. I know that this is. I admit it openly. So I have a problem with South Park for a completely unrelated reason. Has nothing to do with its quality of writing. It has everything to do with its quality of show, which is intentional. That was an intentional thing.
Yeah. I just got bored with it because there's only so many dead children jokes that you can do.
Right. I agree. I'm going to move this down here. I'm going to pull you out of full screen and move you up here because we're coming to the end of the show. It's the last 5 minutes. And see.
I've been also, after I did all that swatching and everything like that, you guys saw me do some watercolors, and I still have them here. However, I've been drawing mermaids because, that's what I do.
Right. Take my glasses off now. Kept my glasses off for the show because I needed to read the screen, but now we're hitting a point where it's that I need glasses. So I actually have just found out that my afternoon class today was canceled. So that's cool because I didn't sleep well last night. So I think I may actually take an afternoon nap and crash out for a while. So I'm feeling like I didn't sleep enough last night. and feel kind of bad saying that when we are talking about
Yeah.
mermaids.
There we go.
I drew a rock band yesterday. I don't know if it's a rock band or not.
So I don't know. Like, you tell me. You're a fan. You're from the '80s. Should I draw mermaids using a style from Peyo?
Huh.
But like Peyo's eyes for Smurfs and
Right.
and you know stuff like that. Like that's I have one character already. I like on how it turned out.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of miss drawing in Peyo's style, so it's very simple. And
Yeah, it
all
is
of
a
his
simple style.
yeah. I don't know. I don't want to revert, but I kind of do at the same time.
I don't know. Sometimes that's a thing that we can and can't. I don't know. Maybe. Hey, you want to see what I drew, though?
Sure.
I'll show you what I drew. There you go. So I made a rock group. I was all excited.
Cool.
I think it's the fun part here. Yeah, Disney makes good mermaids sometimes.
I like the fact that they had a villain manta ray merman, I guess. I liked his the variation of that one because they basically made the manta the ray part like a giant cloak,
Yeah.
and that's like the fantasy lover in me. Like, if you put a person in a cloak, you're good.
Right. There we go. So I think I would like to see you try to revert that style back. That'd be cool. If nothing else, just the curiosity of, what you're doing, how you're doing it. That seems like that'd be fun. So I give you.
I know. I know people would basically be like, "Oh, but isn't that the same style as the Smurfs?" And I'm like, "But Smurf is one of my influence."
So I've got a funny Smurfs story. They made an album in the 80s called the Smurfs All-Star Show. And it was essentially a whole bunch of people singing these Smurf songs and then sped up so that they can sound like Smurfs, right?
Yeah.
And I had that tape and I played it into the ground when I was my kid's age. So 10 or 11 or something. Somewhere along the line, I found on the internet, somebody had an MP3 of it. And I downloaded it. And so my wife comes home one day to Smurfs singing stupid songs about flying kites and going to picnics. And she's like,
I mean, if you think about the Smurfs world, that's what they did.
Right? The look on her face, she was like, the hell is this? And I'm jamming out to it because it's, I remember being 10 and thinking this is the coolest thing on the planet,
Yeah.
Back to what I was saying before to my kid. Once you hit puberty, the world changes on you, and and then somewhere along the line when you're almost 50, you're like, oh, I kind of miss jamming out to the Smurfs, It was like, man. So
the one thing about our society that I do find really weird is we don't talk about, I know women talk about it, but men seem to not talk about this. It's what happens after puberty with men. Because it seems like everyone like thinks it's like done for men after that point. Like we don't have any other states that change. And then I'm like, no, there's definitely a different state because I'm definitely not the same person that when I finished puberty. And
Yeah.
that same feeling when I finished puberty all went throughout my 20s. But I hit my 30s. Something happened.
Right. We like settle in. That's what I was telling my kid. We lose hair. But I mean, I was telling my kid, you hit puberty and then you're like this guy and then you settle in to something else. Because I feel like that was the same thing for me. I spent my 20s on kind of this decline to where I am now, like who I am now. And I mean, like your core concepts don't change. I was a Trekkie before puberty. I was a Trekkie during puberty. I was a Trekkie after puberty, or whatever. However, whichever stage in this little thing, I've always been a Trekkie. That's not going to change. It's just whether I was interested in Kirk fighting the Gorn or whether I was interested in Deanna Troy's boobs or whether I was interested in Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. You know what I mean? It's like that's where I was, but I was still a Trekkie through the entire thing. But I definitely see what you're saying. There were 3 distinct phases of my Trekkiedom.
but there's also like something else that like I don't know if you're starting this, so please don't make it seem like I'm becoming very forward with you all of a sudden.
I love you.
My dad around like 55, something like 54, 55, he got these like very weird mood swings. And I remember my grandfathers also getting mood swings around that time as well.
Interesting.
And it's one of those things of like it's kind of like an unheard of thing that seems to unspoken. But I honestly do think that because women go through menopause, men go through something similar.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just like me going like, here's my soapbox, I'm going to start talking about this. It's like, no, like, is it legitimate? And then like I would watch something and they would go, oh yes, there is something known as menopause. It's basically it's a male version of menopause.
Okay, man.
And I'm like, huh? Why are you calling it menopause? Like,
well, I mean, there's got to be a point where our testosterone levels drop off at some point. I mean, it's got to happen.
They were saying that that we stop producing as much testosterone to live a longer life. Yes, that's basically what it is.
Yeah, and that makes some sense. I mean, I know that. Midlife crisis. That's probably what we see in society's parlance. Is what you're probably talking about. Is that moment when you think your life is over and you're not going to go any further and I mean, to some degree, I've been feeling a little of that, because I've been feeling like, gosh, is this where we are?
Well, but, I've been through it with my dad several times, actually. He's had more than one.
But my dad seemed to kind of just coast to a stop. You know what I mean? He's well past menopause, whatever you want to call it, and has been for a long time. But but when he went through that phase, I didn't see wild mood swings and he didn't. I mean, I think he went through a mild midlife crisis where he was like, maybe I should get a British sports car. But he's always wanted a British sports car, so that's not really necessarily a big thing.
Yeah,
it would be the equivalent of me buying the like 14-foot long model of the Enterprise, and building it in the basement somewhere, and then my wife going, "Where are you going to put this?" I could see that, building a screen accurate studio scale model of the Enterprise, is ridiculous in my mind's eye, but something I really want to do. You know? But it's like, where would you put a 14 foot long model of the Starship Enterprise?
Right. Like, but like, this is like what I was talking about. It's weird because it's like everyone wants everyone wants kind of. I'm not trying to say like men like a lot of males that I know that are not like super empathetic or anything like that.
Sure.
Like I'm saying like there's certain times where I'm in a situation where it's a group of men and it seems like we only talk about something superficial. We don't talk about bodily functions, we don't talk about anything like that. And I hear more women talking about bodily functions with other women than I do with men talking about other.
And I don't know. I think I'm not
Ooh,
going
that's a good idea, Donald.
to. Right? There we go. Do you know that they were going to do that? And I'm still mad about this. They were going to build a life-size version of the Enterprise in Las Vegas, and they just could never get around to the funding of it. It was going to be like this massive hotel, and it was just going to be, 1-to-1 scale. And I could live there. I totally could. I could just live there. It'd be awesome.
Among the decks.
Yeah, I just haunt the decks.
Are they going to have tanks for the whales and other aquatic alien species?
Wouldn't that be cool? Because you know that in the Enterprise D there was Cetacean Ops,
Yeah.
which was referred to in Lower Decks, and I love that. It's just seriously funny that he mentions it. But they actually were going to do something about that, and they never did. But yeah, I mean, it was a refit, so there wouldn't be whales in it because it was a refit. You'd have that arboretum on whatever that was, deck 16 or deck 17 down at the bottom. And theoretically, you have a bowling alley. So
I think the only thing I've ever been most upset about not seeing is every time they bring it up about the features of a starship, there's always a captain's yacht.
right,
I always want to see the captain's yacht.
right. I mean, it's on the Intrepid class, it's pretty cool. That Aero shuttle that's underneath the bottom of the dish, the front saucer. That thing is sweet, and I've seen the drawings that they made. Rick Sternbach has the drawings from it, and it's pretty kick butt. And I'm like, I think Eagle Moss just released a set that was all the yachts. So it was like the captain's yacht from the D and the Aero shuttle from the Intrepid, and it's like, man, those are kind of cool. I agree, though. I wish I'd seen that. I wish I could have gotten to see that on screen. But that's a budgetary concern, and not as big of a concern now with 3D, because it just means a couple of days in the hands of a 3D artist to build it, and then they can find a use for it in the show. So it's a little easier to do with Discovery and Strange New Worlds. Except Strange New Worlds is going to be using the Connie, which doesn't have a yacht. He's piloted a couple of captain's gigs. That's kind of cool, actually. Yeah. I actually always kind of wondered what Donald did in the service. Apparently piloted captain's gigs. It's a thing. But yeah. So anyway, I think we're at the end of our show because it's now 11:11, and I'm kind of getting hungry. And I
am
have
too.
real mixings downstairs, just waiting. They're calling my name.
Well, I just want to say.
Yeah, but you got to turn it so that.
So I did 2 Peo mermaids.
Yay!
One's a seahorse-based one, and the other one's an eel one. So yeah, I am kind of maybe I'll do some images. I don't know. I'm taking a break from social media posting for a few weeks. I have some other stuff I need to get done before I fully commit to experimenting with Peyo style.
Fair.
But thank you for joining us and having me pour the Da Vinci watercolors for you guys. It's a fun set. You'll probably see more of it. Because, you know, when you spend over $100 on something, you're going to want to use it.
That's definitely true. And now that I've got sort of an idea of which ones I'm missing, you and I can make our little trip to Gyrie's, which we might do this weekend. I don't know if you're up for it or not. We'll have to see.
Sunday, I get my second shot.
So you're not up for it Sunday?
Yeah.
But Saturday, we might get together and do that.
Yeah. Saturday, I think I'm fine. Friday, if you want to do it then too, it's fine too.
Wakes for me.
Yep.
So that's cool. Okay, guys. Well, then we'll see you all tomorrow. And take it easy, Donald. And if you've got to go back to the doctor, I hope you feel better. I hope your knee gets better because I'm kind of worried about your knee over there. Brent, thanks for joining us too. And anybody else?
Thank you for the other person who joined us earlier. But
we had that other really cool person who was also a parent. I think they would have really enjoyed being part of that last part of the discussion. And so, yeah. Anyway, well, thank you all for
joining. Too bad I made too many dad jokes. All right.
It's
until next time.
Until next time. I'll see you all later and keep your eyes on the stars, guys. Bye-bye. Computer, good night.